Hello, thank you for purchasing the all-in-one budget planner. This is the step-by-step tutorial on how to get your planner set up. I designed the budget planner to simplify my own finances, and my aim was to keep the planner as simple as possible to understand and to maintain. In this video, I will walk you through how to use the budget step by step so you can get organized and feel confident managing your money. Hi, and welcome to the all-in-one budget tracker. In this quick overview, I'll walk you through the key worksheets and how they all work together to give you a clear picture of your finances. We start with the dashboard summary. Here, you'll see the monthly budget tracker, including the pie chart that shows the breakdown of your expenditure by category. You'll also see 4 important snapshots: your savings, debt, expenditure, and underspend, all shown as percentages of your actual income received. This view extends to your full year performance with a chart comparing income versus expenditure across the year. You'll also get those same 4 key snapshots: savings, debt, expenditure, and underspend, all shown as percentages of your actual income received. This view extends to your full performance with a chart. The next tab is the full year budget. This is your forecast, what you expect to spend over the year. Later, you can compare this against the full year actual tab, which records your real income and expenditure as the year unfolds. To make this possible, you'll track your monthly expenditure in the detailed transactions list. From there, you can review your results on the monthly versus spend tab, which shows how each month performed against your forecast. Finally, the pivot table is your main analysis tool. This gives you powerful breakdowns and detailed reporting to track exactly where your money is going, helping you make smarter financial decisions. And that's the quick overview of the all-in-one budget tracker. Everything is designed to give you clarity and control, so you can budget, track, and manage your money with confidence. I'm going to take you through how to set up your all-in-one budget tracker. So we would need to start in our 4-year budget forecast. Our 4-year budget forecast, as I mentioned before, has got a breakdown of income, and these are the detailed breakdowns. These are all suggested categories. If I wanted to change this to only say salary, all I need to do is to amend that. If I want to call this freelance pay, I can type over that detailed budget. If I want to call this total income, that's what I would do. I would suggest that you would keep this as income because it can impact some of your formulas on your dashboard, and you would need to make sure that you're checking that your formulas are picking that up on your dashboard summary. This doesn't mean that you can't change it, but I would suggest that if you are confident with formulas in Excel, then go ahead and make the changes that feel comfortable for you. Then, once we are happy with the category breakdowns that we have, do not insert any rows, again, unless you are confident with the formulas that you in Excel. it's probably best if you don't need as many breakdowns in income, just put an X as a holding box. This allows you to change the category in future without impacting all the formulas that have been set up. If you know your monthly amounts, go ahead and fill in these amounts. However, I strongly suggest that you use your bank statement so that you can capture as much detail as possible and make your forecast as close as possible to reality. So we would start with our salary figure. You'd only need to enter it once in this blank cell in column D, and it auto-populates across the whole sheet. Continue doing this down this entire column D in both the income and the expenditure. Gone ahead and filled in the rest of column D in the expenditure boxes right through to the bottom. So now we have our budgeted income each month. Notice that they are the same each month. And this is wise because if you do change figures in each of these boxes, what you are actually going to do is if in that month the actual income is different to that figure, you won't have a clear variance. In other words, you won't have a clear difference to figure out what happened differently in that month. So it is wise to go ahead and use the average figure that you expect or the actual figure you expect so that you can get a clear variance, or rather a clear difference, if that figure differs in that month. We'll go into this in more detail in our monthly budget versus spend sheet. According to this, we expect at the end of our full year to get income of 70,200, and we're going to break it down with all our expected expenditure, which has automatically populated all our month columns with 66,564. This line at the bottom, which I call balance, is actually the underspend. This is the amount that you've got left over at the bottom in your bank account or in across bank accounts that you have not spent. Hopefully, it's always a positive figure. If it is a minus figure, it would mean that that month you had overspent and could potentially be in an overdraft. Let's go to our 4-year actual. Our 4-year actual will be blank at this state. The only thing that you would need to check on this sheet at this stage is that all of your categories have pulled through from your 4-year budget in exactly the format that you have put in your 4-year budget. Let's go to our monthly budget versus expenditure. In our monthly budget versus expenditure tracker, our categories would also mirror our 4-year budget. The amount that's pulled through from the budget is going to be relevant to the month that relates to the amount to the month that we are going to start working on our transactions. If you have used the format where it has auto-populated the 4-year budget and you have not changed any of the figures in the month, all these figures will be the same each month. Just to expand on this once again, this is so that if you expect to be paid 4,500 for your salary each month, and for 1 month you get slightly less or slightly more, you have an over or underspend. This quickly flags up a difference, and if you know that there is a difference that doesn't seem quite right, you can look further into it. If you change figures in your full year budget and something is different in that month, it's difficult to tell whether that variance is capturing something accurate, or rather whether you are actually capturing an over or underspend, because each month your figure is different. This will make sense as we go along. Check that all your categories match your full year budget and that all your categories have pulled through. Remember that if you are not confident with formulas on Excel, it's probably best not to insert any rows until you feel more confident with the budget planner and how it works. This box at the top here would be changed. It is the month, and you would change it to each month that you're working on when you are working through your transaction list. Let's go to the Transactions tab. This Transactions tab initially will be completely blank, and at this stage it may take you a fair amount of time to fill in all the details, but this would only be for the month that you are setting up the tracker. The recurring bills, whether they're monthly, quarterly, or annual, would be noted in this column, and the next due dates would flag up in this column. The only thing that you would need to do is make sure that your date column each month is showing the correct date that the amount has come in through the bank account, and the rest will automatically update itself. At this stage, you would need to allocate a detailed drop-down list and the summary drop-down list. I've put a small reference breakdown on the right-hand side for you to refer to. This pulls through from your full year budget so that you don't have to keep clicking across to your full year budget tab. If you have filled in your full year budget the first time, this has auto-populated, and so all you need to do is make sure that if you are allocating it to an income as your summary, it falls under one of these detailed breakdowns. I'm going to fill out the spreadsheet so that I can demonstrate everything that I have shown you. Gone ahead and filled in our first few payments that we've received from the bank. Our first payment is our rent payment, which is money out, and this happens every month by direct debit, so this is a monthly expenditure. This column has automatically updated so that you know when it's next due, and what we would need to do is populate it with our category detailed breakdown. In our breakdown list, it is bundled together by the type of summary category. In this particular case, our summary category for our rent falls under our house bills. And here you go, rent. We've just discussed where it falls under. If you're unsure, scroll over here, scroll down. You know that it's rent, so it falls under house bills. Let's find our house bills category. You'll continue to do this for all your transactions. The good news is you only need to do this once for every recurring transaction. For one-off bills, you would need to allocate the type of spend it is. depending on what the detail you see in your bank account or what you know it to be. Here we have a Tesco's spend. We've already given the description as food shopping. So we are going to call this, it is one of our household bills. Food shopping. And we know that it falls under household bills, house bills. I'm going to go ahead and populate this for a full month. The full transaction spreadsheet has been filled out. I've identified all my monthly expenditure, my quarterly expenditure, as well as my annual expenditure. The formulas are auto-populated when the bill is next due. I've given them the detailed category and the summary category. And the next step is to check our totals. 5,300, 4,626.99. If you're working from one bank statement, it's easy to cross-check these figures and make sure that they match. However, if you're working from a number of different bank statements, you may have to do a bit of a reconciliation, add up the totals to make sure that you've captured all your transactions. Next, we go to our monthly budget spreadsheet. I've already populated the month that we're working on, which is September. In order for us to refresh our figures so that our amounts come into our actual box, we would need to go to our pivot table. Don't panic. Our pivot table is actually very simple. We would need to click on the box, click on your first pivot table, go to Pivot Table Analyze, go to Refresh, and press the Refresh button. That gives us our total figure of our money in and our money out. Scroll to the bottom and check that your total expenditure here, 4626, matches your total expenditure in your transaction list of your money spent, 4626.99. Go back to your pivot table tab, go to the second pivot table so that we can get a breakdown of our summary categories. Pivot table, refresh, and that gives us our figures for our summary category breakdown. These figures need to make sure that they match with these figures. I will go through troubleshooting at the end just to see if your figures do not match and what the problems could possibly be. We would then go to our monthly budget versus expenditure, and in our column F, we would have all our figures auto-populated. We can check our income. Total income would be 5,300. Let's check that against our transaction list. Total income is 5,300. Check that against our pivot table. Total income is 5,300. So we know that we have done a full reconciliation of our monthly expenditure. You do the same thing with your expenditure breakdown. Our balance at the bottom, this represents a potential underspend of your income against how much you have spent. Just a quick note. There is a figure showing 520. This is a comparison of the amount that you budgeted to spend that month and the amount that you actually spent that month. The difference is 520. This figure represents the difference between your total income that you received that month against the total expenditure you made that month. So this is potentially an underspend, and you could check that as a balance in your bank statement. From here, we would go to our dashboard summary. Our dashboard summary has auto-populated all our figures. This amount covers just 1 month's worth of expenditure and income. We're able to see our proportions against our summary breakdowns. We also have a further breakdown, the amount that we were able to save that month, the amount that we paid towards our debt. Our expenditure is everything that we paid out in living expenses. And our underspend is that balance that's left, the difference between our total income that we received that month and our total expenditure we made that month. This goes on to show our full year performance. There is a spike here because the only data we've captured so far is for 1 month. This information here mirrors our monthly information because we've only captured 1 month's worth of data so far. Let's go to our full year actual spreadsheet. This column for September has auto-populated 5,300 income or 626.99 expenditure. There is a summary of various types of information which you'll see in visual form on your dashboard summary. At this point, it's probably best, because we've reconciled everything, you can now copy this and paste it as values, copy the income and paste it as values, and then copy all the expenditure and paste it as values. If you've enjoyed this tutorial showing you how to get your finances all in one place, easily reported and easily managed. In the next video, I'll show you a few troubleshooting techniques. Next, I'll take you through a bit of troubleshooting on the spreadsheet. The important document to focus on, the tab to focus on, is the transaction sheet. If you have captured all the information as per your bank statement, or the combination of all your bank statement and any cash spend, and you're satisfied that you have captured all that detail, this becomes your master sheet. And so you'll focus on your total income on the spreadsheet and your total expenditure figures as the master figures. In this spreadsheet, what's really important to note is that when you have set these categories at the beginning of your forecast, you must select these categories correctly on the detailed and the summary drop-down lists. What do I mean by that? I mean, if you have selected salary wages, it must fall under income. If you select short-term savings, it must fall under savings and investments. These categories are categories you have set already, and you have determined what the summary category is and what the detailed category is. And in order for the formula to work correctly, you must allocate the correct detail to the summary that it is allocated to. The next thing to check, if your totals are not matching in all the tabs, is to go to your monthly budget versus spend tab. Click on any one of the cells and make sure that you have selected all the lines
for the pivot tables that you are pulling the information through. The only cells that you need to be concerned about is where you have A4 through to C45. Because if you go to the pivot table, A4 shows the row label right down to C45, which will pick up all the information right through to C, the last row and the column that fills the entire pivot table. If there are additional rows that have come up because you have more transactions and more breakdowns, then you must go back to your monthly budget spreadsheet and amend that row. And you can amend it right through to 100 if you have to, just so that it can continue to pick up transactions that you've put in your transaction list. If you have any problems, please do contact me on the email that's been provided when you purchase the all-in-one budget tracker. The final issue you may have is in your full year actual sheet. In your full year actual sheet, there are formulas in each one of these columns that will only pick up the information that's relevant in the month that you are working in. For instance, if you are working in September and you have made sure that you've typed in September in cell H2, your full year actual formula will automatically pull through all the information from September. In the following month, when you work on October, this information will only pull through into the full year actual when you amend this top cell to October. Before you go ahead and amend your month to October, always check that you have copied and pasted the cell values of the actuals of the month you were working in, so that you can keep track of what actually happened in that month, right through to the month you're working on. If there's any other issues that you encounter in the all-in-one budget spreadsheet, please contact me on the details provided at the bottom of your instruction sheet